Hi, welcome to Talking Books and Stuff, the program that talks all about books and writing and stuff. Here's your host, Dennis Rimmer.
And welcome back. It's Talking Books and Writing and Stuff. I'm Dennis Rimmer, the host, of course, and we're talking about books and writing and stuff. And writing and stuff today is encompassing something called editing with our guest from Salem, Ohio, which is Bambi Sommers. Are you anywhere near Columbus, Ohio?
We're about 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours away. I'm more up towards Cleveland and Youngstown area. In the northeast part of Ohio.
Okay, so for football, we have Youngstown State. A lot of Canadian Football League players come from the U.S., of course, and Youngstown State's in there a lot. And there's also a Canadian kid who's a big star quarterback at Ohio. Now, I don't know if he's at Ohio University or Ohio State, so I can't remember. And Columbus Blue Jackets, but we won't talk about them because nobody up here likes the Columbus Blue. Why is speaking of Ohio, why is the Blue Jacket a big thing in Ohio?
I had no idea that it was.
Oh, because I'm wondering why these guys call themselves the Columbus Blue Jackets as a hockey team, which makes no sense to me, but...
Oh, that's why I didn't know them, because they were hockey. And, you know, we don't want hate mail here. It's not that I don't like hockey. It's just that I just don't really watch a lot of sports. You know, my husband is a huge Ohio State fan, and so that's on. Whenever they're playing, that's on.
Oh, okay.
But, and Browns, of course, they're constantly losing, but he's still a fan.
That's what a follower is. You don't care just as long as they put on a good show and try. Give it a good shot. Ohio State, that's the Buckeyes, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Les Nessman won the Ohio State, the Buckeye News Hawk Award 5 years in a row. On WKRP, the TV show.
Oh, yes, yes. We were talking about them the other day because they did that Thanksgiving thing where the turkey dropped. Right. They didn't know turkeys don't fly.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. Well, I worked in radio for years, so it was a popular show back when I was in radio. So
you're not going to believe this. I worked in radio for 18 years.
Okay, a promotion person, right?
There you go.
Okay. Well, I saw that somewhere, and then I went away from it when I clicked on different things, and that's how I ended up with Dana Brown. And there was.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. I was promotions director for most of my time there, and but I filled in for the woman. She was a part of the team in the morning, so I filled in for her when either she took vacation or it was too snowy for her to get here from the next town. You know, and I did a lot of commercials. I produced a few things, and I was a half partner in a Saturday night show.
Ah, well, there you go.
So,
yep.
It was great fun.
Yep. That's the problem. It's fun, but unless you're a superstar, you don't make any money. I always thought radio was great for people in their 20s until they figure out what else they want to do with their life.
Yes, yet there are so many jocks around here that are in their 50s and 60s. They just hung in there and stayed with it.
Good.
But radio's changed so much because a few of the big corporate giants have bought the radio stations.
Exactly.
Very rarely do you find anybody live. Like, you know, it's just usually the morning team or something, sometimes midday.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's
Everything
it.
else is canned.
Yep. And do you like morning teams? I guess you do. I always thought that the people in the morning show end up talking to each other and not the listener.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't think that some of the listeners really care. They hear them banter. And if they're funny and if they bounce off each other really well, I think the listener likes that.
And people like eavesdropping, don't they? So it's always fun to hear what other people are talking about. Well, talk shows are people talking to each other, and so if everybody listens, just ask Rush Limbaugh.
Exactly.
I worked in Bellingham, Washington for a while, and I did a bit there with our morning guy, and I called myself Rash Limburger. I don't care what you're saying. I'm right and you're wrong, and I'm Rash Limburger. Get out of my speaker. Enough of this. We're talking with Bambi Sommers. We're supposed to be talking about writing, but radio is fun. You connect with radio people no matter where you are. Right now, you're in Salem, Ohio. You say is 3.5 hours. What, north of Columbus and near?
We're kind of northeast of Columbus, and if I travel a little more than an hour north, I can be in Cleveland. If I travel a little bit more than an hour east, I can be in Pittsburgh. So, there's big cities around us, but Salem is a small town, and I love it here.
Okay. Now, is that where you worked, is in Salem, in radio?
Uh-huh. Okay. But we were one of 3 radio stations in the United States that had 2 major markets, Youngstown, Ohio, and Canton, Ohio. So as a promotions director, I had to deal with 2 different sales teams, 2 different major markets, So 18 years was enough.
I was in radio for 30 years and my wife was in television for 44 and a half. At the same place. So.
That had to have been kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, she did every television job you can think of, so it was great for her. And then in the end, she just ended up in the sales goons, as we always called them. So, can you put the phone number in? It's a great commercial, but you have to put the phone number in. No, we don't want phone numbers in radio. Nope. Have you ever been driving down the road and I better pull over and write down this phone number that they just repeated once? Oh.
Yeah. The only way you can remember something like that is if they make a jingle out of it.
Yep.
And then you can remember the jingle and that. But other than that, no. I agree, don't.
Okay. Anyway, back to the main topic here.
Okay.
This is going to be great. People are going to love it because they like eavesdropping, right? So you are an editor. Bambi Sommers is an editor. I'm
an editor and I'm an author, both.
Okay, now what do you write?
I write romance thrillers, and I have 9 on Amazon right now. I have a series of 3, a series of 4, and I have a duo. And I'm currently writing a rom-com, a romantic comedy. I don't get very far as I write because, they're supposed to be funny. And you don't always feel funny. So you kind of got to wait until you have this click in your head going, hey, I think I can do this today.
Gotcha.
But my editing business comes before my writing. And so if I have a big editing project, which I always do this time of year, it's my busy time of year, then I don't write much during the holidays at all.
Okay. And your books are under your name?
Bambi Sommers.
Bambi's okay. So.
Yep.
And that's 9 of them, you say? Well, we'll get to that.
Yep. There's 9. There's different series. They're short and sweet. They're about 50,000 words, and so they're easily read in a day or day and a half or something. And they're just entertaining. I mean, there's no big messages in them or anything like that. They're just entertaining.
Great. And which leads us to our next topic is an editor. How do you define an editor? When you meet somebody in the street and they say, what do you do for your living? Oh, I'm an editor. How do you describe your job?
Usually I don't have to until they start with the questions. Oh, you're an editor. That's really cool. Do you edit books? Yes. And I tell them I have clients all around the world. Technology has allowed all of us to do things that as our age, and I'm going to lump you and I together there. In our age, we never thought that we would be able to do that, to do these things. Without my phone, without Wi-Fi, without all that stuff, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now.
All right.
And I think that's why when self-publishing used to be a bad word too, and before self-publishing became a good word, I think it was because technology wasn't there. We weren't able to do it ourselves. Now I wouldn't dream of looking for a publisher. I have no desire to have a publisher.
Right.
But back to your original question, I normally don't have to explain my job too much until they really get interested and say, do you change the author's words? How could you do that?
Yeah.
And, yes, I do, if it needs it.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of them don't. And I pride myself on being the kind of editor that will make your words better. They're not my words. I don't put it into my writing, you know. So yes, if I change a word, it's a suggestion. I think writers are afraid sometimes of editors because they think they're going to come in and say, you have to do this and this and this in order to sell this book.
Right.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Oh. Now, I have started to read books before online or whatever that have not been edited. And rarely do I come across one that I can't get through because of the mistakes. But every book I've ever read, including Stephen King, has a mistake in it.
It does.
Every one of them. I've never read a book without a mistake.
Yep.
And, the editor doesn't catch it, and the author doesn't catch it, the publicist doesn't catch it, so, but yeah, I explain it as I basically am a partner with a writer, and I partner with them so we can make their book the best it can be.
So does every writer need an editor, or
yes.
Some people they can go it on their own, but they shouldn't. They need a partner.
That's exactly it. They shouldn't.
Okay, it's like doing your own dental work. You can, but it's not going to work out too well. Is that what it is?
I'm not sure it's that bad. But yeah, because you can't, your brain will tell you there's a word there that really isn't. Because you're reading it and that's the way it's supposed to be, and you'll read right over that part that maybe a word is missing or misspelled, especially things like there, and there.
Yeah. You, your, and yours, and you are. And drives me nuts when I see it online. And, nobody knows how to spell. And the worst thing is when people say 2 a.m. in the morning. When else is it going to be?
When else is a.m.? Exactly.
And it's on.
Exactly. And
news reporters really do it, and it's on in newspaper columns. Anyway, we're getting off topic.
I was watching the crawl line the other day on television, and it had misspelled someone's name, and I had a little hissy fit. Yeah. I normally don't, but my husband was in the other room, and I said, "You've got to come in here and see this. Look at this. They spelled, and it was some big it was Beyonce's name.
Oh, how can you?
They misspelled Beyonce's name. How dare they, huh?
Oh, well, there you go. So, what is the physical process? Someone will, so they got to hire you, right? You don't do this for free.
Yes.
No,
I do not. No, they'll contact me and say, listen, I've heard about you. I'd like to know your prices, whatever. And so I will let them know that what I charge, and I charge per word. So it's very easy, for them to figure out, and I'll figure it out for them if they give me a word count. And so I charge per word, and I go through, they send me the manuscript. I send them a very simple contract. Very simple contract. I don't like legalese. I don't like to sign anything I don't understand. So simple contract through DocuSign. They sign it with their finger. They send it back to me. And then they send me the manuscript. And I go through their manuscript under track changes, under Word. So that allows them to see in color where I have worked, and it allows me to make suggestions or talk to them in the margin and say, you might not want to do this, but I would do it this way, up to you. And then when I send it back to them, they go through the edits. They accept or reject whatever they want to do and send me the manuscript once again. I go through it again then, and then I send it back to them, and I send them an invoice. So it's that simple. Now, if it's someone I haven't worked with before, and it's a rather large book, a rather expensive book, I will ask for partial payment up front. But most of my clients, they're do-overs. I've worked with them a long time. I just have them pay me when I'm done,
Yep.
So it's really a simple process. And if it's a change that I feel that they're not going to quite understand, then I will go into the margin and explain why I did what I did.
So you're not just a proofreader, quote unquote. It's more involved than that. Like you say, part of the team. So
yes.
Okay.
I think if I had to describe myself, I would describe myself as a copy editor, probably. I find plot holes. I find places where maybe they said the person's eyes were blue at the beginning, and then suddenly they're going, but they turned those brown eyes towards me. No, they didn't.
Right, because they're supposed to be.
So
Okay, so it's subtle changes, and yet, but you then, like you said, you do suggest things that maybe more character development in a certain area, that kind of stuff, and so
I do.
A helping hand where it's needed, I guess, is how you would describe it. Okay.
And I don't stop there. When the manuscript is done, I offer to write a blurb because everybody hates writing blurbs. And it's really hard when you've written 75,000 words and you're supposed to condense it down into something that can fit in a paragraph or two. It's really hard for most writers.
Yeah.
So I do it for them. Now, I don't expect them to publish word for word. I expect them to maybe grab that and go, ooh, I like this point, and go off on their own and do it. And then if they want to, they can send the blurb back to me that they wrote, and I'll proofread it and make sure it's all good and send it back to them, So, and then after all that's done, I have many, many clients that are first-time writers that they're not really sure what to do from there. They want to publish on Amazon. And so, okay, go to KDP, and do this and this, and I'll kind of walk them through it a little bit. But I love my clients, and I want them to succeed. If their success is my success. And so, and since I'm a writer, I've also done this, exactly what they're doing.
Okay, you said KBC?
KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing.
That's right. Okay, I've heard of that. So we're talking with Bambi Sommers from Ohio, freelance editor, also an author of 9 books out there. You can just Google Bambi Sommers author and find your books, and Bambi Sommers editor like we did. And there's something going on my dumb screen there. Who cares? Click, get out of there. Oh, well, anyway. The reason I kind of had you in the back of my mind was your work with Joanne Paulson, J.C. Paulson, author from Saskatoon. How did you connect with her?
She is one of my best friends online. And how I connected with her, I think it was just a Twitter thing. We became friends through Twitter, and then we started to direct message each other, and we've Zoomed many times. I have a Zoom coming up with her in a couple weeks, as a matter of fact, again. And we just we clicked, we became really good friends. She's an editor too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that,
no.
But, yeah, she edits too. I don't think that she puts it out there as much as I do because that's my main thing. She still basically works, and I don't. I semi-retired, so I could do this, and so the editing is my job. And I sometimes I'll have like a brain glitch where I'll go, "Is this right? I can't remember," and I'll text her or message her or whatever and say, Joe, I can't figure this out. Is this the way we do this? And she's done the same thing to me, and we just kind of play off each other. We help each other, and she is fabulous in every way. She is a great writer. She's a wonderful friend, and I love her. And her husband, her husband is a writer too.
Is he? Because I know he's a jewelry guy.
Yeah. He's a goldsmith before he's anything.
Right.
But he's a writer. He got me doing bonsai trees. He's just really funny and lovable too. So I wish that I lived closer to them so I could see her in person besides just on the Zoom.
Right.
But I have many friends like that. But there's only a couple girls that are my besties online, and she's one of them.
So that she has a new book. Is that why you're going to call her in a couple of weeks, or you're going to contact her?
No, actually, I'm not her editor.
Oh.
I have done some editing for her.
That's right.
But it's been more like, hey, would you check this out? And, and I do the same thing with her. And it's not like we don't do contracts, we don't pay, we don't, we're just friends.
Right. And that's Bambi Sommers. And we've had her on the podcast twice, so...
Yes,
yeah.
I've seen it, or heard it.
I've heard them, yeah. So that's good. Well, let's kind of wrap this up.
Okay.
I'm sure you're busy. I'm just trying to make sure I know what I'm talking about here, which is always a problem. Okay. You- Bambi Sommers, writer. We contact you through how?
You can find me on pretty much all of the social media. I am on Facebook. I am on Twitter. I am on Mastodon because, I have been getting almost all of my clients through Twitter, and there's a little part of me that's afraid that they're all going to go away. So I'm trying to make friends elsewhere, but I'm hoping that Twitter stays because we have a great writing community.
Right.
You can get a hold of me on my Gmail, which is summersbambi@gmail.com. And Summers is SOMMERSBAMBI@gmail.com.
Yes, it's not summer like the season. It's Sommers.
It's S-O. And I am happy to give no obligation quotes. I will help you in any way that I can because that's what I think that we should do for each other.
And that's the writing part and the editing part with Bambi Sommers from Salem, Ohio, who's also working with or friends with one of our previous guests a couple of times, J.C. Paulson, Joanne Paulson from Saskatoon. Now, I'm surprised she would need help because being in the newspaper business as long as she was, and she would know all of the copywriting and proofreading and how to plot things, but maybe not. Maybe everybody needs help. Is that right? At times.
Everybody needs help. It's very hard for you to see your own mistakes. But like I said, I'm not her editor. She might send me a paragraph and say, what do you think of this? Because we all have some self-doubt.
Yes.
And that's what I do with her too. I'll send her a paragraph and say, gee, is this really horrible? And so it's just friends helping friends between Joe and I.
That's great. And our guest has been Bambi Sommers, SOMMERSBAMBI@gmail.com. Wow, this was an interesting chat. Thank you very much for talking with us for 21 minutes and 50 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Thanks very much.
Thank you for visiting with us today. This is Talking Books and Stuff with Dennis Rimmer. Contact him at dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Thank you, and may all the good news be yours. Oh, and don't forget to check out his book, The Great Canadian Notebook, available across Canada and at amazon.ca.